this little piece of plastic here, it has some movement. I think a guy would be smart to seal that up with some silicone. Okay, we bought a Pit Boss. It's the PB1000D3. It's a Tractor Supply version of the 1000. I'm going to be doing a review and an assembly, and then we're going to do a review of the assembly. Already, I can say that it's really hard to move. It's almost 200 pounds, and only thing really to hold on to is these straps, and they were like digging into my hand. So I don't know, they should have some of those the holes cut out like right here, and then you could get a better bite on it. But that's a one-time deal, so I'm gonna give it a 2 out of 10 for handling before assembly. We paid $540 for this Pit Boss, and then we went online and found a coupon. If you bought a pellet stove from Tractor Supply, you get a free bag of cooking pellets. All right, I got most of it unpackaged. That's just the grills. I'm going to leave them in there. I don't know if I'll get this all together tonight. The packaging was about 5 bags worth of garbage. But got this. I guess if you got questions, I don't want you to return it to the store. So, real quick, I'll give you a little bit of a quality check here. The only problem I found is right here. I don't know if you can even see it, but right here, there's a little dent in this bottom tray. Can barely see it. From here you can kind of see it. See that dent there? Right here. From shipping. Overall not bad for being shipped from probably China. I'd say that's pretty minimal. These corners here, they're spot welded. It's a very, very minimal spot weld. These are the legs. You got more spot welds right here. There's one right here. See here, more spot welds right here. But it's pretty rigid, actually. As long as the spot welds hold, that should be enough, I would think. Looking at a different model, it was a small model that was assembled and it was outside. And it had the nice steel spoke wheels. And we wanted a bigger one, so we just got this one in the box. And then when I was unwrapping it, I found these crappy rollerblade type wheels. I don't know, this material here, it doesn't last very long on rollerblades, especially if you leave it outside. But it's just a 6-inch by 1-inch wheel. So if this stuff ever breaks off, we'll just go to Tractor Supply and get a 1-inch wheel. But yeah, I really like the steel wheels. It really, to me, screams barbecue, but it is what it is. We're this far. Let's keep going. The only other thing is there's a piece that barely fits in here. You gotta do some kind of a math problem to get it out. And it was just gouging into the styrofoam. Made a big mess. So I'm gonna vacuum all this before we barbecue, because I don't want any of that getting on the meat or melting onto the side. So, but I think if I would have taken out that piece of styrofoam first, it probably wouldn't have made such a mess. I'm gonna put it back in time lapse now. So the directions are actually pretty clear, easy to read, and step-by-step stuff makes sense. The one thing I don't like is this. It's a hardware. You've been using a Phillips or a flathead, and the only problem with that is you can't get any torque on that with your hand and a screwdriver. You know, with a screwdriver you can get it pretty tight, but it's not like a wrench where you can really put some leverage on it. So I don't really like that. Coworker suggested Loctite, but we'll see how they do. But you can see here, you gotta have a really slim wrench to fit in there. And I've got a lot of tools. I've been tinkering my whole life, and I don't even have a wrench that would fit in there. I'd have to grind one down. So what I did is I took my vice grip and I came in here and I grabbed the stud coming through, and I used the vice grip to tighten it that way. So I don't really like that, but it is what it is. The other wheel is really simple. It's just a pin coming through the wheel there, a cotter key, and a washer. You can see here I was able to get the front legs on and get the hardware started on my own, but for the rear legs I had to have my son help me. So you may need someone to help you when you're assembling this to get the back legs going. All right, well, I got it together. The hardest part was the legs, the first, especially the back two here. The front two, you can, you know, hold the leg with one hand and then put the screws in on the other side. But on the back side, if you have short arms like I do, you are going to need a second person for those legs. Overall, I would give this about a 6 out of 10 for assembly. I guess on a, you know, for DIY people, it's probably, it really is a piece of cake. It's just it's large, and then reaching around is a little difficult. Got to read through the directions. I know you got to do an initial burn, so we're going to do that. Then we're going to cook some meat on it, and we'll do a little bit of a review then too. Like I said, as far as easiness, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the hardest, 1 being easiest, I would give it a 6 or a 7. I think if you're a handy person, it might be like a 1 or a 2. Like for me, I had no question. I knew I could do this. But if you're not a huge or large person and you're trying to do it on your own, it might be a little difficult. I don't know if your store charges to assemble. I know Tractor Supply doesn't charge to assemble, but I have no patience, and the assembly guy wasn't there, and I knew I wanted it, and I kind of wanted to put it together anyway. So I should look up that bolt hardware size for the legs with the Phillips screwdriver. I should get a part number, see if I can get a bolt size there, so that if you're putting this together and you want to use actual bolts, you could use actual bolts. But anyways, I'm going to do read through instructions and figure out the initial burn on this, and find a place to put it, fire it up, and I think we're gonna try with some chicken legs or something like that. Just something that would be ordinarily pretty cheap and easy to cook, and see how it comes out. So anyhow, so we'll do an update once we get her going. So here. I read the instructions and got it plugged in. You got to plug it into a regular wall outlet, and then I think I did a little out of order. I think you're supposed to fill the pot before you fill this. But yeah, you're gonna open it up the first time, take all that grate and stuff back out, and then you're not supposed to. I put my fingers down in there and make sure that the auger was spinning, and after about a minute, the pellets did start coming out. And then it says you're supposed to do a 30 to 40 minute burn on this thing the first time at 350 degrees or more. If you see here, you got to be careful. Don't get the barbecue too close to your house. That wasn't me. That was a roommate I had years ago. That was a gas grill that did that. But there to the side of the house. So yeah, I'm going to give her 30 to 40 minute burn off and see what happens. You see here, we're already getting some temperature action in there. Let's open it up real quick and see what we get. The auger is really quiet. It says on the instructions, make sure the auger is working, but there's a blower in there you can hear, and with that blower, you actually can't hear the auger. So I put my fingers down in there, and you got to be careful because the igniter bar is right there, but I went in just above that and just felt the end of the auger with the tips of my fingers and made sure it was spinning. You can't actually see it. I think you're supposed to make sure it's spinning before you fill the hopper here. Be careful when you're filling it. The pellets will fall down in here, and it was a nightmare trying to get them out of there. I had to use a spatula and stuff. But anyways, so overall assembly, it really depends. If you're a mechanic, this is like a 1 out of 10, nothing. Easiest thing you've ever put together, probably. If you're like a not mechanically inclined person, like you can't even probably, like if you would struggle to put your spare tire on your car, this is probably a 7 for you. And you're probably going to need an extra set of hands unless you're, you know, like 7'9" or something like that, to reach the back leg bolts. Overall, I'm pretty happy with it so far. So we'll give you an update here once it's ready, and then we're going to throw some chicken legs on there, I think. Start out with chicken legs because they're cheap. And if we screw them up, not a huge waste of money, you know. It's a $2.25. A little bit dusty from the pellets, I suppose. I don't know, do you ever have to clean that out? You must not. These are going to be control with nothing on them. Well, it doesn't feel like it's going to be warm enough to cook anything. being perfectly honest. I'm gonna do a couple far away and then a couple closer. I'm gonna go get a meat probe really quick and stick it in one of the breasts. And my theory is that the breasts are gonna take the longest to cook. So I'm gonna just put one of the meat probes in there just to give us an idea. I know nothing about this. I'm sure there's people out there that do. I'm not one of them. Now these probes, they're right out of China. I probably should have washed them with soap and water before I stuck them in the meat, but this here, this is good enough for me. I'll be the one that eats it probably. We'll try it out on one of the kids. So I'm gonna put this in one of the pieces of chicken that's kind of, I wanted a bigger piece but towards the middle, but yeah, let's do this. All right, we'll see how this goes. Set it and forget it. Okay, so it's been about 20 minutes. She got the before temperature on that chicken. It was almost still frozen from Walmart. I made some homemade macaroni and cheese. We're gonna stick that in here real quick. I gotta get some tongs so I can move it. I think with these, you don't wanna have them open for too long. And I did see that it said you can hit the prime button for a few seconds if you're gonna open it, and that'll increase the heat and then it'll recover faster. So I'm gonna hit the prime button here for 10 seconds or 15 seconds. Maybe a little more. We're at about a half hour. Chicken temperature is coming up a little bit. I'm gonna put some skewers on there. It's sitting at 215. I'm gonna hit the prime button again. I don't think that really worked that well. And I think I'm gonna turn this up to 250 because it's actually, we're like at 200 over here. So we're gonna turn it up to 250. And then I'm gonna throw these kebabs on real quick. All that chicken still looks really raw. I don't know. We'll see how this goes. Hopefully we don't end up in an emergency room by the end of the night. Okay, so it says cook up to 170. Or I'm sorry. So it says online you cook the chicken up to 160. But I open this up and you look. It doesn't really look that done to me. It seems really jiggly. We're gonna move the probes around, move the meat around, and let it sit a little longer. Probably ruining this food, but I don't know. Actually, the probe went through the meat, so that may have something to do with it. That looks done.
Yeah, I think we're just gonna switch sides, like halfway through a bit next time.
Yeah. These are our control legs. There's no seasoning, or not much seasoning on them. Some like barbecue wizard right now watching this that's like rolling his eyes. Congratulations.
We're newbies.
These aren't cooking at all. Mac and cheese is looking pretty good. So now this one says it's at 137 and this one's at 160. We're gonna give it a little more time. So it's really weird saying the breast is 194. And the leg is 141. That's just not right. So got a regular thermometer and a knife. We're gonna check the temperature and cut into it and see. So this one is saying 141. So let's take this out. Is that gonna be hot? Maybe. Something here smells a little spicy. So let's stick this in the same hole and kind of see what we're dealing with. That's definitely like at 170, 165. Let's try one of these other ones. This other guy here is a big monster. Let's see. Never had a probe in it, so let's see what it's at. Up against the bone there, but it's getting up there. That's done. Let's cut into this and see what it looks like. That's done, for sure done. That's looks almost done, overdone. Cut this one up and see what it looks like. Let's check the internal temperature. This one was like 170. Let's see. Same hole. That's scary. You just said this one was 170. Let's get it in there farther. It was saying that this one was 170 and the other one was 130, and that's backwards. Unless I had, maybe the probes are backwards. Maybe I did have the probes backwards. Let's cut this one open and see what it looks like inside. Yeah, it's definitely, I don't think it's raw, but it's...
Maybe the legs will come out of the rest of it.
Yeah, I'm thinking that. But why? Why
The
is
breasts are bigger, or thicker.
Maybe?
There's not much to legs.
Let's check this one out. Like our macaroni there is boiling. Yeah, that ain't 160.
Now we can pull the legs off.
Let's check this other leg over here. It's kind of out in no man's land. That one's struggling a bit.
Okay, so I can put a couple legs out.
I think I'm going to move these legs out. I'm going to move these out and then move this chicken in.
You could probably pull the macaroni off.
Probably. You know, it's just trying to basically keep it warm at this point, you know. I was thinking. What I'm going to do is crank the heat up to 500 and then let it sit up at that temperature for a minute. It is sticking out actually a little bit. Okay. Which probe is that? That's probe number 2. Okay, so I turned the heat up. Said to turn the heat up at the end. Close, isn't it? How did the temperature drop on all these? Maybe because I had the lid wide open. Let's let them sit in here for a few more minutes. Let's try it. This guy here. I need to quit opening the dang lid. We got macaroni and cheese. That's good.
That one looks almost raw, but it's like...
It does, but it's just smoke. Alright, let's let them sit in here a little bit longer. Go Well, it says they're over 200 now. I just turned up the heat. Maybe I ruined some of this. I don't know. That's why I got chicken, in case we ruin it. We still have time to go out to get some McDonald's. They look alright. Some of them got a little done. I think this is all going to be delicious. That's my personal opinion. Alright, though, that's the final result. I think I turned it up and I let it sit a little too long at the end there on 500. So, but nothing is burnt beyond edible. So, anyhow, I'll do a final review maybe tomorrow or when I'm done eating here if I have any energy left. Alright, so you can see you got a little bit of smoke in that chicken there. Tastes pretty good. I have to mess around with the dry rubs and stuff like that, but I'd call it a success because we actually have edible food. So it may not be perfectly smoked and barbecued or whatever like textbook, but it's edible, and we'll fine tune from here. Pellet usage. Let's see. That was, I don't know, we probably been cooking here for an hour and a half, plus the initial burn, about a 40-minute initial burn, and it was plumb full to here. So we had our first rain, and I wanted to look inside the hopper here and see how wet this stuff gets with a little bit of rain. Let's look in there. Looks like some of them got a little bit wet. I can't tell if it blew in like underneath or if it came from this little piece of plastic here. It has some movement. I think a guy would be smart to seal that up with some silicone on the inside. I don't know why they didn't do that from the factory. But anyhow, that's the first rain. So I guess it's time to do the final review on the Pit Boss PB1000D3 or D whatever. I'm going to give it a 8.5 out of 10. And the reason is I'm taking off a half a point because when it's new, it's impossible to move. It's a big, giant 200-pound box with no way of grabbing onto it. So I'll take off a half point for that. I'm going to take off a half a point for that little peeping window leaking. The peeping window shouldn't even be there. I get it so you can see the pellets, but if your hopper gets full of water or all your pellets swell up, what's the point? I mean, you can just lift the lid and look in there and see how much. I'm going to take off another half a point for those cheesy Skittle wheels that they included with this thing. Honestly, I was looking around at a lot of the different Pit Bosses, and I knew I wanted a 1000 because I wanted to be able to smoke stuff off to the side away from that direct heat. So I wanted a bigger one. But the reason I kept, I didn't buy one at Walmart because it had the little cheesy Skittle wheels. And I looked at a couple other stores, and all the bigger ones have the little plastic wheels I don't like. You know, their little display model, the smaller 800 or whatever it is, 700, that's got the nice steel wheels. And that's what a guy wants. I'm pretty sure that's what everybody watching this is going to want. You know, I don't have anything to compare this to. This is my first pellet smoker. I'm sure the treager crowd is going to say I'm an idiot and this is such a piece of crap and all that. But honestly, we've used, it's been about a week and a half since, from all the filming until now. And we've used almost a whole bag of pellets. We've smoked, I don't know, chicken, pork, beef, bacon, made Alfredo, penne Alfredo, smoked that. Cooked a pizza on there, some brownies, chocolate chip cookies. A lot of, 3 or 4 pork loins. So, all the food came out tasting great. Like I said, I don't have anything to compare it to. So, I'll give it a 8.5 out of 10 overall. Anyhow, everyone, thanks for your time. I'll edit that out. I got my own smoker.